Well, hi there, and welcome again to the next step. We're going to continue talking about social engineering, how the media plays a huge and absolutely essential role in that, and how it all comes down to propaganda and engineering consent. And to begin with, I think I'd like for you to look at a piece of information that may have come by your ears and eyes at one point, but I'll bet you've forgotten about it. So check this out.
Iraq attacks Kuwait, claiming the Kuwaitis are slant drilling into Iraq's oil fields. U.S. President George Herbert Walker Bush pushes for a land war against Iraq. But polls show the U.S. public is split 50-50 on that idea. Then comes this eyewitness testimony before a congressional committee from a 15-year-old Kuwaiti girl. The claim is she cannot be identified for fear of reprisals.
While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators, and left the children to die on the cold floor.
The U.S. public is outraged. The result? Support for land war zooms. It's a turning point. Desert Storm is launched. 135,000 Iraqis are killed. An estimated 1 million Iraqis, many of them children and old people, then die as a result of 10 years of sanctions. One small problem. There never were any incubator baby deaths, not one. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's investigative flagship program, The Fifth Estate, reveals the girl to be the Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter, given her lines and coached in acting by the giant American PR firm Hill and Knowlton. It's one phase in a $10 million joint U.S.-Kuwaiti campaign of deception. This man is lying.
I myself buried 14 newborn babies that had been taken from their incubators.
This man is lying.
And they had kids in incubators, and they were thrown out of the incubators so that Kuwait could be systematically dismantled.
There were a lot of people who participated in a conspiracy. Yes, an out-and-out conspiracy of fake organizations, false documents, fraud, and disinformation. So, if a new man named Bush is in the White House and helps engineer a brazen deception in order to achieve global geopolitical goals, as well as domestic and personal ones, it wouldn't be a first, would it?
Yeah, well, there you go. And to follow up on that, just as I was coming in, I was talking to a man about bin Laden's death, bin Laden's killing. And I said that I was doubtful of it. I said I didn't really believe it. Why should I? We've been lied to so many times before. And he indicated that he felt that I was in a trap, that I had no one to believe, as though that there is someone out there in the media that is telling you the truth, that there is someone that we have to believe. I'm telling you, the trap is believing that there is someone in the media who is telling you the truth. As long as you believe that, you are in a trap, because all of the media is controlled, all of the media is playing along with propaganda, all of the media is going along with the social engineering. The media is bought and paid for by power and wealth. And there is example upon example of just what you just saw. I mean, I have a clip of that one, but we're going to give you some more things to remind you of just why you should not believe everything you're told. As a matter of fact, anything really. Just stand back as an objective observer and understand that you are being led in some direction. And my guest here, Brett Hughes, has willingly put his neck on the line as well to expose some more of the examples of this horrendous duplicity that pulls the public along with the power agenda.
There's one thing I think people should really take note and really focus in on exactly what we just saw.
Right.
With that girl, how
Soak
old
it
was
in.
she? Like teenager,
15 at that time.
15-year-old girl giving this heartfelt, emotional, tearful account of these people throwing babies out of incubators as a pretext to demonize Iraq.
Iraq, yeah.
And just look at the level of the depth of that propaganda, because it was turned out that that wasn't true. The story wasn't true. Yeah. She was, she was helped with a PR firm to concoct that story. I mean, this is, Joseph Goebbels level propaganda.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
This is hardcore, and this was brought out in all the media. The media just dove right into it. They exploded with it. They're like, oh my God, Iraq is so evil that we have to do something. Yeah. This was another piece. And so it just shows the level of the depth of what I would call evil.
I would call it evil.
Not only in the government to produce this and to hire people or get people, even 15-year-old girls, to sell their propaganda. And then the media, they, fact-checking? Never heard of it. No. They love anything that the government says. They just love it and eat it up. They're worse than lapdogs. They're in on the game.
Oh, yeah.
And this just showed exactly that.
Oh, I know. It really did. I mean, especially if you listened, after she spoke and they were showing the results of that. I mean, besides the people killed with sanctions, I didn't realize 135,000 Iraqis that did nothing to nobody killed. It's again, as Brett is saying, the depth of what he said and what I agree with is sheer evil. We have to start back, taking a step back and looking at what is done in our name in a more objective way. We have to start realizing, and we know we've been there too many times before. We're being lied to, and the lies are specifically crafted to bring us into agendas that we, given a clearer mind, would never go into. I mean, the Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, how many people, American, Vietnamese, died, crippled, just made miserable. I mean, breaking up a huge chunk of humanity because somebody said, oh my God, there are these boats out there in the Tonkin Gulf and they're firing at us. We have to go do something about this. It was a lie. It was a proven lie. Later on, it was the complete pretext for complete devastation of a country, of a generation of young Americans, of countless unknown numbers of people in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. And we think nothing of it. We have to start. This is on you. This is on all of us. We have to start growing a morality that means something. This is done in your name. Stop. USA! USA! Grow up. I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
To jump in here, the whole Gulf of Tonkin incident is really amazing because for, I'd say, like about 40 years, we had the official story that, we had our destroyers up in the northern, forget what that is, but the Gulf of Tonkin, of course.
Right, yeah.
And they were, attacked by North Vietnamese boats, and they weren't successful. But anyway, and so President Johnson used that for basically to massively escalate the war in Vietnam. The war up until then was not really even a war. It was a
Right,
more of it was a black ops type of thing, just you know, all CIA and special forces, and so unofficial really.
Right.
But so this was the big coming out party for you know the Johnson administrations to sell the public the war in Vietnam and say, we were attacked. Look, we were attacked by these evil people, and you know, another demonization thing. And so, but what happens is after 40 years, you know, the information starts leaking out, and it came out pretty rapidly, but it's always in the you know, in the buried, you know, G4 section of some random newspaper in Wyoming or something like that, and it doesn't get blown up, although it is huge news.
Yeah.
And so, like in 2007 or 8, I can't remember exactly when, the actual National Security Agency itself came out in their cryptologic quarterly in 2000. Well, this was declassified, a document from 2000, and they reanalyzed all the information, you know, concerning the Gulf of Tonkin. And they said, and I quote from this report, and you can read this online, you can see it, it's directly from the NSA, quote, "It is not simply that there is a different story as to what happened. It is that no attack happened that night." So what they're saying is that the entire reason for the Vietnam War, of the escalation and getting into it as far as the American public is concerned, is a lie.
Right.
How many U.S. soldiers did we lose in the Vietnam War? Tens of thousands, like 60-something thousand. That's our soldiers based on a lie. Why were we in Vietnam? For no good reason whatsoever. How many Vietnamese people died? Like millions.
Oh, sure.
It's just absolutely ridiculous that you know, these people, politicians, they want to sell some bullets. They want to sell some bombs. Every bomb has a price tag to it. And people in the military-industrial complex are making profits off people's dead bodies.
Right. Oh,
and
absolutely
so when they sell you a war with some lie, just think of how many billions and millions of dollars that are being made off those lies. You want to believe, you want to see the motive for these type of lies? Just look at the military-industrial complex. Look how much money they make every year. It's just outrageous. So they are behind these lies.
Yeah, and on top of that, you can look at the people who are pushing the wars and their connections to the military-industrial complex.
Absolutely, and part of it is the press itself.
Oh, sure, sure.
Even when the National Security Agency said, look, we've looked at the Gulf of Tonkin, it's a false flag attack. It never happened. It was made up. Okay, here's the newspapers and mainstream media that actually comes out with something. Okay, January 7th, 2008, by the AFP, the Agency France Presse, so some French press. Okay, they have an article. Okay, they say the title is "Report Reveals Vietnam War Hoaxes, Faked Attacks." They talk about the Gulf of Tonkin incident. They talk about how it helped President Lyndon to have a sharp escalation of American forces in Vietnam. And they said also in here, going back in history, how they sold this event to the American public. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara told Congress that the evidence of an attack was impeachable, quote, unquote, impeachable, unimpeachable. So they're saying it's just like it happened, just, you know, we take our word for it. And then also Democracy Now! Is about the only other mainstream press I can find. In January 10th, 2008, just a little headline, they just say this little paragraph, and part of it's like, a report from the National Security Agency concludes about the Gulf of Tonkin, no attack happened that night. That's it. CBS News, ABC, NBC, CNN. You know, where's all the newspapers? LA Times, New York Times,
that's a big story.
Touching this.
Right.
This is the whole. The
it's
Vietnam
nuclear.
War is like the whole reason for it is gone, and then nobody in the press reports it. And then you have like these huge military-industrial complex. They own media corporations.
Of course they do.
And so it's just a big facade. It's a big fake game to get people to pay more tax dollars and to buy more weapons from this military-industrial complex. It's really evil. Yeah,
I mean, just to verify what he's saying, you know, with NBC, General Electric owns NBC, and you go, oh, but General Electric brings things to life. They make vacuum cleaners. They're one of the biggest military contractors in the world. But to follow up with, you know, the lies that tie into dragging a public into war, we'll save the new Pearl Harbor and 9/11. You know, that's such a biggie, but we'll go for things that have been exposed, like Colin Powell standing up in front of his chalkboard or whatever it was and pointing out these trailers. Oh my God, WMD everywhere in Iraq. We have to do something about this. Look, here is evidence right here, physical evidence of WMD, biological, chemical labs. We have, you know, physical evidence of this. Just look at the pictures. They knew. They knew before that man stood up there and presented this to the nation that it was a lie. It was salesmanship. It was propaganda. It was engineered to bring America into a conflict that we should not have been in any way. I hope if you have watched this show before, that maybe you'll remember Project for the New American Century and the total agenda laid out to take dominance of the Middle East, and its major objective, you know, its first major pin to fall would be Iraq. Hello, it's out there. You just have to scrape around and find the real game plan, not the one that the media is paid to give you.
And people really need to remember, just like that clip that we saw with that 15-year-old girl,
right.
You know, how convincing and
Oh,
just how
yeah.
absolutely made up and make-believe that whole thing was, and just how evil, in order to orchestrate that and have a huge media, you know, thing about it, it's just ridiculous. And so we got to look back at, like, before the Iraq War, and look at what these people said and how they said it and how convincing they were. I mean, they just went off. You mentioned Colin Powell in his February 5th, 2003 speech in front of the UN. I mean, he was completely convincing. He had all this evidence of, like, you know, photographs, and he says, oh, these are our experts, and they analyzed this, and he said things like this. He said, there can be no doubt that Saddam Hussein has biological weapons. And then, you know, just look at some of the statements that these people are saying. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Condoleezza Rice, September 8, 2002. Listen to this, people. We do know that Saddam Hussein is actively pursuing a nuclear weapon. And she also says, we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.
Right.
She's just trying to terrorize us with the whole lies. Donald Rumsfeld, September 28, 2002. New York Times reported, Rumsfeld says, U.S. has bulletproof evidence of Iraq's links to al-Qaeda. Okay, George Bush, October 7, 2002, he said, we cannot wait for the final proof, the smoking gun that can come in a form of a mushroom cloud.
Right.
Another terror, these are the terrorists.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have George Bush again, March 3rd, 2003. He has weapons of mass destruction. I mean, he's just saying it. Okay, Donald Rumsfeld, March 30th, 2003. We know where they are, talking about the weapons of mass destruction. They're in the area around Tikrit and Baghdad and east,
and
west,
and
south,
north somewhere.
And north somewhere. What the hell is this guy saying? It's just totally ridiculous. Okay, last one. Okay, George, this is my favorite one. Okay, save the best for last here. May 29, 2003. Quote, we found the weapons of mass destruction. We found biological laboratories. Okay, and now, so that was the propaganda. Just like that girl selling you just propaganda. We know what's going on. We've analyzed the photography. We know what's going on. We're the military. We're the Pentagon. We have all these spies everywhere.
Right.
We know what's going on. Okay, reality. Time shift. About a year later, September 30th. 2004, the CIA's Special Advisory Report on Iraq's Weapons of Mass Destruction. Here it is, from the source, from the people who know. After they've been all in Iraq, they've been studying this stuff and looking. Quote, and this is from the report, and you can look at this online. It's a PDF. You can just read it from the freaking CIA's website themselves. Okay, quote, Saddam Hussein ended the nuclear program in 1991.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize
mean, that
it
was
that
like
long ago.
10 years before those people made these crazy statements. Quote, Iraq unilaterally destroyed its undeclared chemical weapons stockpile in 1991. Again, no biological, no chemical. ISG, that's the Iraq Study Group, this is another quote from the report, found no direct evidence that Iraq, after 1996, had plans for a new biological warfare program. Okay, so no nuclear, no chemical, no biological, no weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
And did the, you know, it's like, so you got to, whenever the mainstream media, whenever the president or the NSA or, you know, some military leader gets up and says, we found them, you know, we have the evidence, this is clear cut, whatever they say, good chance are they're lying, no matter how big of a deal it is.
Of course it is. I mean, you know, again, particularly you need to realize that when pieces of information like this are pulling the nation along an agenda line, you'd better step back and go, wait a minute, I'll bet this is being manipulated in some way to, you know, to further an agenda. I mean, and they throw in the stories like Jessica Lynch, Pat Tillman, you know, again, the Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter. These things are manufactured. And the story with the Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter, that was, they even had focus groups that the PR firms that do this stuff for the government to decide what would be the most effective thing to move the American psyche. PsyOps is nothing new, and it's become an extremely well-developed science to figure out how to control your thinking, to control your mind. There is, I'm going to give, let's see, that. I don't know whether you can get that too quick or not. This is a wonderful little essay taken off of, you know, excerpted from a video about PsyOps and you know, dragging people along with political agendas. And it begins with talking about the fact that Napoleon had determined that there were two kinds of power, and one was the sword, and the other was the mind, and that in the long run, the mind would always win out. So you understand that power understands the need to control what is the ultimate driving force in the world, and it's your mind. And if you think they're oblivious to the power that you hold, you're wrong. You are the one who is oblivious to your own power. But when we give it away, we just give it away because we believe the garbage that historically we should have learned by now to doubt. If somebody is asking you to hate, to kill, to give up your freedom, you damn well better take a step back and say, wait a minute, I have a choice here. My morality is at stake. And start to look critically at the information that people give you.
Yeah, these people are absolutely cynical, and they are making billions of dollars off people just being complacent.
Right.
And just allowing things to happen. I mean, if you sit at home on your high-def TV or whatever you have, and you're watching news at, like, you know, 6 o'clock news or whatever, and you're just sitting there having some potato chips or having a drink or something, just sitting there just all kind of vegged out, I mean, that is dangerous.
It is.
I'm
yeah,
serious.
sure.
I
agree.
They are affecting how you think. It goes down to neurology, but if you don't have any information to the contrary, and you're not thinking critically, you're not like hearing something say, "Oh, that's, you know, BS. I don't believe that at all."
Yeah.
Or if you're not analyzing, if you're just relaxed watching stuff, it will actually affect the neural pathways in your brain. So when they tell their stories and give you the information that will probably be false or is probably misleading, one of the two, or both, they are actually affecting your mind. They are almost programming. You think of why they call it programming TV. They are literally programming your mind. You have to be critical. And if you're watching mainstream media at all, whether it's some sitcom or a news program, you better watch out. You better be saying, what's the agenda behind this? You have to be very careful. And find alternate news sources that are not mainstream. I like Alex Jones a lot, Webster Tarpley. You could go to my website, mostcrucial.info. There's lots of alternate sources out there for information. Do not get it from CNN. Do not even watch these programs. You know, it's very dangerous, seriously. And don't listen to George Bush or Barack Obama or anybody who has a lot of power, because most likely they've been put there for a reason.
They're put there for a reason. That's right. Yeah, I mean, actually, I kind of like to look at the different medias, not because I take them at their word, but I know that there's information in there that's supposed to be leading somewhere. And so if you listen to this stuff, you know, as the fool on the hill would, and not take it at face value, you recognize that there is important information in there, but it doesn't mean what it says it means. And you know, just to have the wisdom to give yourself credit for critical thought and for the intelligence that hopefully that you've gleaned over the years, and to realize in your gut that all of this stuff is processed and propagandized and owned up. It is owned. The media is owned by power and wealth, not for your benefit, for theirs. And we have to start looking at this stuff with that in mind. And you know, it's reassuring of late to have run into so many people from all the walks of life who are catching on, who are going, yeah, I know they're just lying to us. You know, you go, oh, wow, people are really catching on to this stuff. This is, you know, maybe there is hope. So, you know, we're just asking you, start thinking for yourself. Don't even accept what we say. Do your own research. But, you know, you have to realize that this is nothing new. I mean, Machiavelli, the Third Reich, on and on, Napoleon, they knew the importance of getting your mind and having it work for them. And with the way technology is going, we don't have that much time. Please, come on, Brett.
We're in serious trouble.
We're in serious trouble here. Watch out. They're coming for us.
They are.
Thank you.